Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a super different video today. I'm really excited because we're going to be doing something that I've never done before on this channel or really ever in my life, and we're starting something new, trying something new, and I decided I wanted to bring you guys along with me and show you if this is either going to be a success or failure. So today we are going to be starting on making my very first piece of clothing that I will be wearing like as an everyday piece of clothing, and it's going to be a dress. I've always just really loved sewing and the idea of sewing, but I admittedly am not very good at it, to be completely honest. I'm just really not practiced in it. I don't do it very often, so every time I have a new sewing project I have to like relearn everything, and it's just never been something that has stuck with me. But I want to change that. I am going to be working on revamping my closet this spring, which is going to be another video hopefully down the road here. That's my plan anyway, because my wardrobe is very stale. It's literally like circa 2019 because pandemic didn't do anything with the wardrobe. So this is the year that I want to start changing that. I really want to start investing in my wardrobe, especially for the warmer seasons. My winter wardrobe is becoming a bit more built up and nicer quality, and I want to do the same for spring and summer. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to basically create a dress from scratch without a pattern. I shouldn't say from scratch. We're basing it off of another dress. I don't have a pattern. I didn't buy one. I'm going to make my own using a existing dress that I already have, which I'll show you. So this is the dress that I am going to be using. So I'm going to use the shape of this bodice and the shape of the skirt to create my new dress. I'm going to be making modifications to this. My finished dress I'm hoping to be a V-neck instead of a scoop neck. This one is a scoop neck. This one has an elastic waist. We're not doing that. I'm going to actually change where the waistline hits slightly, maybe by like an inch, and just have it be a straight seam. And then the skirt on this dress is a little bit long on me. It's supposed to be a midi dress, but I am 4'11", so all midi dresses tend to hit me pretty low on my ankles. I want this to hit like mid-calf. So I'm hoping by bringing up the waistline a little bit and then cutting this skirt about the same length will shorten it for me. If not, we'll hem it, no big deal, but that's the kind of plan for that. The only other thing that I want to modify on this dress are the sleeves. So these are a bit longer. They do have a cute little gather at the top. I don't know if I'm going to do a gather or not on the one I'm making. I have thought this out, though in my brain it sounds a lot easier than it's probably going to be. I'm a novice. I do have a sewing machine that I stole from my sister. You guys might have seen it in my office tour. That's what we're going to be using. It won't be a hand sewn dress, but I don't know how this is going to go. This video could go completely the wrong direction. So just know right now, this is not a tutorial. Please don't use this as a tutorial unless of course it comes out good and you're like, oh, this is great. Then maybe if you want to follow what I did, but I'm literally just showing you like the haphazard way that I'm about to try and do this without a dress form, without a pattern that I bought at the store, none of that. So I bought this material here. It is a calico cotton, and I got it from Joann Fabrics. I bought 4 yards. I know that's way too much, I'm aware, but I do want to try and do a double bodice, so a lining on the inside of the bodice so that it's the same on both sides, because on this material, so this is the front, and then the back is like that white, like faded out look. I don't want that on the inside of my bodice. I want the whole thing to be this material, or this pattern. I bought a little extra for that, and then I also just wanted to have enough purely in case I mess up, because I probably will. It's inevitable at this point. Like, I'm probably gonna mess up somewhere. So if I mess up a cut or something, I can at least have the peace of mind knowing that I have a little bit extra fabric. It is like a blue-gray. I really love it. It's so pretty, and it's got, like, as you guys can probably see, a little bit of a like a ditzy floral daisy pattern on it. I think it's so perfect for the upcoming spring and summer. It'd be cool if I could wear this for like Easter. I don't know if I'll have it done by then. Actually, I hope so, because Easter is like really far from now. I would hope I'd have it done by Easter, but we'll see. I also bought these buttons. They're white because I want to do like on this dress, on the back here, the closure is a little button at the top, and there's like a slit here, and then there's a loop on the other side. I just think that's nice and easy. I don't have to worry about a zipper or anything. I also bought a new pair of shears. These are from Walmart, and they were a double pack with this rotary cutter. I'm gonna be doing some quilting this summer. I wanna make a quilt over the summer. That's my goal. So I needed a rotary cutter anyway, so the double pack was nice. This was $20 for both. And then the last thing that I have with me is this brown butcher's paper. So this is from Dollar Tree. I bought it for Christmas actually. I thought this would be perfect to do patterns. I saw people on YouTube using wrapping paper and stuff, and like this is even better because it's just brown. So I could use either side of it. I think it's just time to do it. I think it's time to go. So if you guys are interested in this, make sure you keep on watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, by the way, if you like lifestyle, old-fashioned-y content. I'm learning all kinds of like old-timey skills lately because I love that stuff. I always have as a kid. I just learned to crochet, beginner crochet. I just really like crafty stuff like this. So if you like crafty stuff like this, definitely subscribe and stay tuned to see me potentially royally screw up a dress. It's gonna be a really good time. Okay, so I have my dress laid out. This is the obviously existing dress, and I turned it inside out. Tutorials I was watching showed you should do this so that you can see the actual seams. So this spot here, like this is where my seam allowance is gonna need to be, whereas when I trace this side, like I don't need to do a seam allowance there. The only thing with this one is it does have this annoying elastic waist, so I need to keep this in mind that it is pulling the bodice in here, and the dress I'm making shouldn't be like that. So I am going to try and like keep my bodice a little straighter here. I'm gonna trace this right now, and I'll show you once I have it like traced and cut out, I think. Let's just try and do that. We're just doing the bodice. We will do the sleeve and stuff after the fact. So I quickly grabbed a V-neck dress that I have to like hold up to this. It's a very low V. I don't want my dress to be this low, so this will be a good indicator if I'm on the right track. So if this is the top, oh yeah, see this V-neck is hitting way down here. So this one, mine ends like probably 2-ish inches higher, almost 3. 2 3/4 inches higher. I'm glad I looked at this and made sure that it wasn't gonna be too low. It definitely won't be. So we're gonna stick with this. I'm gonna cut the back out first, I think. So I'm back from having some lunch. While I was eating, I was taking a peek at the pattern pieces that I had made and came to the conclusion that something went wrong somewhere. I think it's with the back bodice because it's not big enough, I've realized. They weren't matching up, and I know I'm like a novice sewer, but like I also know that the pieces are supposed to match up. So I'm like, something's not right. I think I'm gonna cut this back piece and I'm gonna then duplicate it and then just change the neckline so that they're identical. Because part of me is like, no, just follow what the dress is showing. But part of me is like, no, they should be identical, right? Like they should be in the front and back. So I'm gonna do all of that. And then I'm gonna come back when we're ready for the next step, which would be cutting the fabric out, which is the scariest part for me because we just don't know if this is right. Oh, but I'm a couple hours into it already, and I don't want to continue to mess with this. Like, I'm pretty sure that I should just cut them the same. And if it doesn't come out right, it doesn't come out right, and we'll modify it for the next dress. But For right now, I think this is the way we're gonna go. Okay guys, so I have my bodice and everything cut out now. I have my sleeves, everything looks pretty even and good. So moving on to the skirt and looking at it, this is the original dress again. This is the back of it. And it does have a seam going down the center of the back of the skirt. I believe this is to add fullness. Correct me if I'm wrong. It just like makes it a little flowier and movable with that extra seam in there. So I'm gonna do the same with the dress I'm making. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to get the paper, I'm gonna lay this out, and I'm gonna hopefully be able to cut one giant skirt piece out with a seam allowance on either side. I'm then going to be able to take that, fold it in half, and that will give me the shape of one of these half panels. But then what I'm gonna do is, so it'll be able to fold in half, it'll give me the size of one of these half panels, and then I'm gonna add like a flippable strip on the edge of like another 1/2 inch so that I'd have the seam allowance for this center piece. Okay, I'm laying this out right now and I'm realizing that my paper isn't wide enough. So that's a bit of a dilemma. I really wanted to be able to cut this as one whole piece and then do the folding thing. I guess the next best thing is just to fold it in the center and do just a folded one piece of the skirt. It's a bummer. I was really hoping to not have to do it that way, but that's okay. Okay, so this is my bodice piece, or the back of my bodice. So without the seam allowance, it's just under, it's about 7 1/4. So I wanna make sure that the top of this skirt is wider than that. So I'm gonna just kind of follow this down until it meets the skirt. I just realized though that I need to add my seam allowance. Okay, so we're on to the next step. I just had showed you guys that I was cutting the skirt out, which turns out it's gonna be 3 separate panels put together. But now I have my actual fabric on the table. It's very scary. And so I have my back bodice piece laying here. I'm just going to cut along these edges. And so then I should have one mirrored full back bodice piece, and then I'm gonna do the same with the front. Okay, so I've got my shears and I'm gonna just cut out the back bodice. So let's do it. I like where it's gonna hit my torso though. That's really nice, so that's good. Okay, so that is the back piece. All right, got my front bodice. This one has the neckline on it. So I'll show you. So I have the top of it has the scoop, but I also made a little notch where the V-neck option is, so I know where it's at. Cut right where my slit was. I'm gonna take this off. Okay. And basically you're just gonna meet the neckline. So I'm gonna... Okay, I take it back. I'm actually gonna cut sleeves now because I have this little square at the end here of this row. Okay, after much deliberation, I need to face it this way because I need the folded over part to be on the top of where my shoulder would be, which is here. So that was a little confusing for a second. I had to really think about that. my shoulder like this. Yeah, okay, we might have to deal with some stiffness there because it's a cotton, but yeah, that's what I have in my brain, so that's great. I'm gonna do the second one and then I will come back afterward because I'm gonna do this, then cut bodice, and then we're gonna move on to the skirt. So I'll come back when I'm doing the skirt. Okay guys, so it is now time to start cutting out the skirt. I have my skirt panel here. I'm a little nervous because the way that I initially cut this fabric was not right. I had it all folded in half and I cut it basically so that it ended up being 2 pieces. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have started on the end and like folded it over a little bit, cut a bodice, like kept it one continuous piece, but I don't know where my brain was. But anyway, fingers crossed I have enough to do this skirt. I'm pretty sure I have plenty. I just had wanted to maybe double it, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough to double it. So we're gonna just start cutting panels out and let's see what happens. Okay, so crisis averted for a minute there. I thought we weren't gonna have enough fabric to do this panel size because of the way I cut it. It was dumb. And I was scared for a minute, but it's okay. I turned the fabric, manipulated it, we're good. And I also just realized that I need to take the seam allowance off of the center of this panel for this particular piece because this is going to be the mirrored front panel of the skirt, which doesn't have a middle seam. So I don't need a seam there. So I'm gonna get rid of the seam allowance there. I just cut little slits all the way down and I'm gonna just fold the seam allowance away, and then that will make sure that that front panel is the same size as the 2 back panels put together. Almost didn't catch that, but I just made that modification. So I'm gonna fold those down and then we're gonna cut out this front skirt panel. So obviously the waist is gonna be quite gathered in. We'll see, I might have to taper this waistline in a little bit. We'll figure it out. So I'm losing daylight really fast in here, so I'm gonna get the last panels cut out and then we'll be on to the sewing portion of this whole thing. We're almost there, we just gotta cut out 2 more panels. So I'm just gonna cut out 1 more of these and then basically cut it down the center on its folded seam. That'll give me those last 2 panels with that center middle seam. This one I will use the seam allowance. Good morning guys. It is day 2 of the dressmaking experiment and experience, I guess. I am so excited to get started today. I'm gonna show you guys where we're at with progress. So I think I left off where I was cutting the skirt panels last night and my card actually ran out of space. So I was like, you know what? This is a good place to stop anyway with filming. And so we are back. It is brand new day, sunny, just a lovely Saturday. I'm gonna show you guys what I did last night while we were watching TV, which was great. It just kind of was something to do while we had our show on last night. I pinned pieces together, so one sec. Okay, so I told you guys yesterday how I was doubling the bodice on my dress. So I'm gonna show you guys what that means. So if you don't know, of course, experienced sewing people are probably watching this like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. Hopefully I'm doing things decently. But okay, so basically I cut out 2 back panels for the bodice and 2 front panels yesterday so that they are the same on both sides. So basically it's gonna make a really nice lining on the inside of the bodice that's the same as the outside. And I think it'll look a lot more finished this way. I had enough fabric to do it, so I thought, why not, right? I did this on the sleeves too. I'm hoping the weight of that will make the sleeves a little bit less like up, because yesterday the way it was looking with the cap sleeve, it wasn't looking like it was gonna like drape nicely, but I'm hoping that adding some weight will give me the more drapey effect rather than the stiff effect. It could go either way and we'll find out today. This is the front. The first thing I'm gonna do is sew them together to make one piece. And then I will take the front and the back and I'll sew those together. So I did pin it where the seam allowance would be. I'm gonna sew it a little bit higher, like more in the middle here of the seam allowance. And then for the actual sewing of the pieces together, we're gonna sew on the seam allowance, so right where these pins are. So there'll be a double stitch there, but that center stitch will be hidden in the seam allowance. I think it's gonna be a really fun day and I'm ready to get started. I'm very excited to get started. So let's get going. Okay, so I got my pieces all done up. I did the sleeves, I did the 2 bodice pieces. So everything is lined properly. So now what I'm gonna do is sew the bodice together somewhat. I'm gonna leave the side seam open for the moment because I'm then going to sew the tops of the the tops of the sleeves on, and basically just like make sure before I sew all of this on that it's gonna like line up and be big enough and like land in the proper spot. I'm just trying to take this really slow and do it bit by bit and not be overzealous and like throw it all together and hope it works. Just measure and pin like that. So as you guys can maybe see, this seam here is way down here. It's so little, it's like white, you can barely see it, but this is where my seam allowance is. So once this is inside out and sewn and stuff, it's gonna be quite a bit smaller than it looked. And then I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do about the neck, because obviously it's an unfinished neck right now. So I think I'm gonna do a neck band on it. I'm gonna have to look up a tutorial though, because I've never done one of those, but yeah, I'm just gonna pin this and we'll get to sewing. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly put this over my head and see what we're working with here. It's a little tricky because I have this bulky sweater on, but this looks like it's gonna line up fine. It's hard to tell. I have a big sweater on. So we're just gonna keep going on. We're gonna put the sleeves on and see how those are laying. Okay, so I just tried this on without my sweater and I will say that it fits fine. The sweater really adds a lot of bulk, but I wanna show you what I did with the sleeves. So right now it's turned right side out. I did some gathers. Obviously this isn't sewn on yet, so you see like that gap, that won't be there. But I did some gathers at the top, right here, and then in the middle. You know what? I like it. It's really cute. I just tried it on with this kind of pinned on here and I like it a lot. It looks very summery. It's not super puffy, so I like that. I'm also thinking about doing, like I'm gonna do on the neckband, but on the edge of the sleeves. I think adding the band on the edge here will give it some more weight so that the sleeve is pulled down a bit, not as puffy, and will look a lot more finished. Okay, so we're back to making patterns. So basically I'm gonna make a pattern for the binding that I'm gonna put on the edge of the sleeves and on the neckline, and I've just decided to do the sleeves now because I think it'll be easier in the long run to just do them first before I attach them. I measured my sleeve and it's about 22¼ inches. So I am going to just make this out of paper so that I can have it with my pattern and won't have to redo this down the road because it's specific to this dress. Oh my gosh, I want to show you guys the mug that I'm using to weigh this down. It says Princess of Making It Pretty, and I got this from my coworker back when I was working my first graphic design job right out of school, and I just thought this was so funny. All of us had mugs that had like some kind of royal, like queen, king, whatever, and then like whatever they did. So Making It Pretty was basically a joke because I was always having to take corporate PowerPoints that people made and making them like look on brand and stuff. So I always made it pretty, like made everything pretty. So I love this mug. I've had it forever. And today it is a weight for my project. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go get my iron and I'm gonna fold these in half and iron them down to a nice seam. Okay, so right in the middle here, we're just gonna do this. Yep, that's working. Okay, I'm gonna just press it a little bit. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like. This is the edge that I just kind of folded and pinned, and then the back is just, this is gonna be the inside of the sleeve. It's just flat. We're gonna sew right along this edge here so it really holds it down and it gives it just kind of like a nice finished effect. Okay, so this is how it's looking. It's so cute. I'm absolutely obsessed with it so far. I love it. I love how the sleeves came out. They're really full, but I think they're gonna give that nice little cap sleeve effect that I want. So I'm trying to decide what I wanna do next. I think what I'm gonna do is work on the little keyhole piece back here because I want to trim out the neck like I just did with the sleeves, but I'm gonna make that trim like, I'm gonna incorporate it into the keyhole in the back too. Like it's all gonna be one piece, I think. So I think I'm gonna cut the keyhole back in, which is gonna be about 4 inches long. And then I'm gonna sew those edges up so that, you know, they're clean. Then I'm gonna cut some more edging. I think it's gonna be a little bit tricky, to be honest, because we've got to go all the way around this neck piece. I think it's gonna be a lot trickier than doing the sleeves, but we will see. Okay, so I'm about to sew half of the neckline on. I ended up cutting it at the point because it's a V-neck because it was just too messy looking trying to manipulate it to go back upward the other direction. So I stopped it here and I'm gonna take the second half of it right here and put it up this side, kind of overlapping at the bottom so it's a little cleaner looking. Good morning guys, welcome to day 3 of my endeavor of making this dress. I left off yesterday kind of abrupt, sorry about that. I was having crazy issues with the neckline of the dress. I was messing up left and right, and I think we had left off that I was going to do the same binding on the neckline that I had done on the sleeves because it worked so great on the sleeves. I'm like, let's do it on the neckline, this will be fine. The first one I put on didn't look right. I didn't match it up properly at the bottom of the V neckline, so I took it off, and then this morning I made a new one and was like, I'm just gonna put it back on before I start filming, and it looked not good. It was terrible. It just looked super messy. I couldn't quite get the edges finished. It just didn't look right. So we took the binding off of the neckline and I ended up hemming it. This is the neckline now. So let me show you. So I just hemmed it I think it looks a lot cleaner than it did. And then of course we still have the little folds on the sleeves. It's kind of giving 50s vibes a little bit for me. So today I'm gonna be working on the skirt. As you guys know from day one, it's 3 pieces. It's a front panel and then 2 back panels sewn together with a center seam in the middle. I also want to put a few little gathers in it like I did with the sleeves, but not so much that it's like poofy. So I'm thinking I play around with the front first and then play around with the back separately, like put them on separate, and then once I'm happy with how they're gathered and everything, I can have it all pinned together and just like sew it all together. I could get halfway through and realize that was a very bad call. So experienced people watching this, prepare to watch me potentially fail epically at this. Okay, so I have my skirt pieces. So this is the 2 back panels and then this is the front panel. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm gonna first assemble the back panels together, and then I'm going to work on getting these onto the bodice. Remember, when we cut this, we did do a seam allowance in the middle here, so we have about a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. So I got my 2 panels sewn together. Now, in theory, if I did this right and have the measurements right, this front panel should now equal these 2 sewn together, because remember, we did not put a seam allowance on the big one. Let's see if you match up. Oh, and you do. Yay! They're like exactly the same. This is great. I'm excited. So it looks funny. I'm just doing this for the gathers and I think they're good. It's definitely going to be too long. I'm gonna have to hem it. I do not want it this long. It's giving Little House on the Prairie right now, which, guys, I'm partial to. Don't discount that. I love Little House on the Prairie and I love calico and all that jazz, but I don't want it to be this long. I want it to be a midi dress. I think it looks really good. I like where the gathers are hitting, but I don't think it's like super poofy, which I like. So I'm going to sew this baby into the waistband. We're just gonna go for it. If it gets messed up, we will rip the seams out and do it over, but I really like how this is coming out. This came together so much faster today with it only needing to do the skirt. So I can't believe we're already there, but I'm pretty much at the point where I'm gonna sew the bodice and the skirt and the side seams all together. Scary, because as of right now, this looks great and it looks like it's gonna fit great, but once I sew these side seams together, I'm like, oh gosh, like what if it's too small, or what if there's something not right? So I'm gonna pin it now, and then I'll check back in once I've gotten it all sewn together. The only parts that I'm really nervous about are the hips, because I wasn't quite sure how to attach them in a way that was gonna look right. I don't know how they're actually gonna look on this side, but I did kind of like a little curved stitch there so that there's some, oh yeah, they're fine. Okay, good. That was what I was most scared of. I'm gonna go try it on, see where I want my hem to hit, and like measure a little bit from the bottom where I want it to hit. Cause it's, right now, it's like pretty much to my ankles. I gotta put it on and actually see where it hits, but I'm so excited. It's so cute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry if my hair looks a little frazzled. I just had to get this on and off. So consensus is A, it's way too long. It's giving polygamy vibes. Like it's very prairie dress looking because of its length and just the way the pleats are falling right now. So I am going to hem it a lot. I'm gonna hem it 8 inches up. And the other problem that we're having is the waistline. So the waistline is perfect when it's on me. It's hitting about here and it's literally perfect. I have a little bit of room in there to like move around and stuff, but trying to get it on with my shoulder blades, it's a little bit tough. The waistline gets caught around my shoulders. So the consensus is that the easiest way to probably remedy this is to do an elastic waist on it. I've never done that before, so I'm gonna have to look up how to do it and then go get some elastic. I have to get elastic anyway for the button at the top. It was either that or like put in a zipper in the back. I don't really wanna do that. So I'm gonna hem this and then I'm going to figure out some elastic after the fact, and hopefully, I don't want it to look too bunchy in the middle. Like that's my only concern, is I don't want it to look like an elastic waist. I just want to give it a little bit of stretch in there so that I don't have to like literally fold myself in half trying to get it back over my head. So otherwise the fit is great. The sleeves are a little bit full. I'm just getting like young vibes from the sleeves. I don't know if I love how they're sitting. I think that there's just too much fabric there, and that if I shortened them and did a little bit less gathers, it would be laying properly. That's the update, and I'm gonna go hem it now, 8 inches up, or I'm gonna pin it, take a look at where it's gonna land on me, and then we will sew it down. And I'll keep you guys updated as to what I do with the waist. Okay everyone, a long time no see. Today is Tuesday and I started the dress on Friday. I didn't film yesterday, but over the past couple days I've been making some modifications, so I just wanted to get you guys up to speed on where we're at. I am in like the home stretch with this dress, but a lot of things have changed since I last saw you. So one sec. Okay, so a couple of changes that I have made so far. I added elastic to the waistband of the dress. I decided to let the sides out. I brought them out probably about 1/4 of an inch on each side, and then I sewed a elastic band into the waist so you guys can kind of see the stretch. It's not as stretchy as I'd like it to be. I just didn't cut the bodice big enough to start, so you can't really like add fabric to it. I could add like a side panel or something to the dress, but I don't really want to do that, so I'm just gonna keep it like this. The next time I make this dress, I'm gonna cut the bodice wider to start and the base of the top of the skirt wider to start, so then I can just put that waistband in. I also modified the sleeves, although this one I need to take off and re-sew back on because I put it on upside down. I did modify them. I took out a gather at the top, or 2 of the gathers on either side. I kept the one in the center. The sleeves were just too full. It was giving Handmaid's Tale a little bit. I don't know if you guys watched that series, but it reminded me of Eden's dress on Handmaid's Tale, and I just couldn't unsee that, and I was like, absolutely not. So we had to get rid of that. They were just too full, too voluminous. There was a lot of extra fabric too at the bottom. I shortened it so that it pulls the sleeve down a little bit. And so it's definitely more of just a casual cap sleeve now, which is so much better. It looks so much better. I will of course show this all at the end. I'll show the dress on, but I have the back still that I need to add the button closure to. I did hem it, so it's a lot shorter now. It sits just below my knee. I really like it. For my first dress, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out. It's definitely really sturdy, and I think will make a very good summer dress. It's very lightweight. Okay, so I'm sharing with you how this is currently going. I know my hair is a mess. It's because I just pulled this over my head. My current assessment of this: neckline's good, bodice feels great, waistline is hitting where I want it to. Let me like come up a little bit. The skirt is fine. The sleeves are what's ticking me off. I just don't like how they look. I feel like they look too prim and proper looking, and I'm really thinking it's this down here. Like, there's just so much fabric. The only thing I can really think of doing is taking these off again, which pains me to say, and basically changing the whole line of the sleeve so that it kind of angles in more. I'm also scared to change this too much because I literally, like, I don't want to mess them up to the point that I have to remake them, because that would be terrible. A true dilemma. I think I'm just gonna pin it, take it off, and edit the bottom of this and see if that helps it. And we'll cross our fingers that that works. I took them off. I'm very tired of sewing them on and taking them off. I just wanted to say that at this point, I am gonna just hope that these sleeves look semi-okay and that they're wearable, because if not, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was just sitting here like, oh my gosh, this is like the 4th or 5th time now that I've ripped them off and put them back on, and I'm just so tired of sewing them back on. So that's my plan, is we're just gonna see how these come out. I don't think they're gonna be bad. I don't necessarily think they're gonna be perfect. I could be wrong though. I did not put in a gather this time at all. So I'm hoping that that just makes them nice and just straight and flat. Of course, like, logically that makes sense, right? I kept putting the gather in to give it some like shape, because I was convinced that if I didn't put in something at the top, it was gonna look funny. But yeah, we're gonna try it without that, and we're just gonna leave it at that. And if it doesn't look good, then I don't know what else to say. I did it. Oh my god, I am so excited right now, guys. They are laying how I want them to. It was the gather for sure at the top. I didn't put any gathers in this time. I just sewed them on, and they have some space here at the bottom. The armhole is the right size and everything still. My seams are nice and clean again. Last thing that I need to do is sew all of the inner seam allowances. I'm gonna do some zigzag stitching on them just to reinforce them. I might not do it through the whole dress, I don't know yet. It's just in places where I feel it might fray. Definitely want to be safe with that. So that's the last little bit that I need to do. So overall, this took me 4 or 5 days of working on and off on it. Pretty good, right? Pretty good. I'm so excited. Now let's cut to the reveal.